Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And man, we got another wrinkle in this Diamond Comics debacle. Apparently, the company that was going to buy Diamond Comic Distributors, Alliance Entertainment, is suing Diamond because they said they misrepresented their deal with Wizards of the Coast.
Okay.
So that's interesting. If this is accurate, and I'm going by Bleeding Cool here in their court document. So if I'm understanding this correctly, Alliance Entertainment was going to buy Diamond Comic Distribution because they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, right? They were going to buy what was left of Diamond. I think the Jeppies were going to keep some of it. Now, the price that they offered, again, if I understand this correctly, was contingent on the value of the company based on the deals they had in play, which would include Wizards of the Coast, which produces Magic cards, which is keeping a lot of comic shops in business, because God knows people aren't buying new comic books. But it turns out that they're saying the deal was misrepresented with WotC. Apparently, the plug got pulled on it, and they knew that the plug was going to get pulled. They did not tell Alliance.
Okay, so at the time of them releasing the information, there was a deal in play. Yes. But that deal was going to end in a couple days. Tomorrow.
Yeah, my understanding is, and we're going to go through this and try to make sense of it, because there are like 3 different versions of the story out there. Rich Johnson actually seems like he's breaking it down the best. So we're going to go with his, and if there are mistakes, take it up with him. We're going to try to make sense of this. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
This is crazy. This whole thing, I'm sorry, on no planet is this going to be good for comics. A lot of people are out there saying, you just want Diamond to fail because you want comics to fail. Comics are going to be fine. I'm like, Diamond is propping up most of the comic shops, a lot of the smaller publishers.
Yeah, but it seemed like they were popping it up by letting people not pay, or by just kicking the can down the road, and that came to bite them in the butt. And this was all before tariffs and all that crap happened. Yeah,
Diamond was acting, for those of you who don't know, Diamond is the biggest distributor to comic shops, or was the biggest distributor to comic shops, but they were also acting like a bank. They were basically letting comic shops take merchandise without paying it, and they started shaking people down for money. They were floating loans to publishers. Basically all these comic book publishers and a lot of these shops, in my opinion, were franchisees. They kind of worked like McDonald's. Like, you buy all your stuff from McDonald's, and they'll bail you out or whatever to keep the McDonald's going. And that's what this felt like, and the whole thing is collapsing. Like, it's all collapsing. Now, Marvel and DC, they'll be fine. They already jumped ship to Lunar, and they got some other distribution options out there. And eventually, I think Disney or Warner Brothers is just going to nope out of publishing monthly comics, because why bother? But anyway, so this was going on according to Rich Johnson. So take it up.
But he seems to have screenshots of the actual filing in Baltimore.
Yeah. So Alliance is suing Diamond over the details of how the Chapter 11 bankruptcy process played out. In this process, they were named the highest bidder for Diamond, initially rejected by the debtors, confirmed by the courts, and then terminated the purchase agreement themselves. We wondered what was going on. They pulled the plug on the agreement suddenly.
Right. So it was already through the courts and everything, and then they decided not to go forward.
Right.
Which, why would you do that unless there was a good reason?
Right. And this seems to be the reason. The current lawsuit claims that Diamond fraudulently misrepresented the status of their contract with major gaming manufacturer Wizards of the Coast behind games such as Magic the Gathering. They claim that Diamond represented an ongoing contract with WotC, but that WotC had notified Diamond that they were going to terminate the contract, and that Diamond deliberately misrepresented their relationship during the bankruptcy process. Alliance also claims that debtors now refuse to return Alliance's earnest money deposit of $8.5 million, providing no reasonable justification for doing so.
Okay, wait. So Diamond kept the money too? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. From what this is saying. So Alliance was going to buy Diamond based on the fact that Diamond was disclosing their contracts, and they according to the argument here, deliberately did not tell them that their deal with ending with WotC, which I think was April 30th from other articles. And then now, since they pulled the contract, they're not going to go through with it because they were lied to. They won't give them back their $8.5 million.
This is crazy. It gets crazier. I'm reading.
They probably spent it.
They probably did. Jeppy probably bought another mansion. God knows he's
well, I
had.
said they probably tried to pay some stuff or something. I don't know.
Probably. I mean, like I said, this company, and you know, we can say this because you know we freelance, but we talk to people. Jeppy's been robbing Peter to pay Paul for decades. Like
you told me this. I said, "What?" So Jeppy pulled a Jeppy is what
Jeppy pulled a Jeppy.
said to you.
Yeah, and this is the same guy who thought that the entire comic book industry was going to basically just stop because he didn't want to be in business during the pandemic. And you know, my personal, and I could go down this rabbit hole. This isn't really for this video, but basically, I think that the direct market was fatally wounded in the 90s and it never recovered. And they basically just been shuffling money around to try to make it look like things are fine.
Yeah.
That's my, what they call it, rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. That's basically what it is. In the decision to terminate their agreement with Diamond, Alliance states it eventually discovered that WotC had decided not to renew its distribution agreement with Diamond, set to expire on the 30th of April, 2025, which Alliance said would result in an estimated 25% revenue reduction for the gaming part of Diamond Comics. So there's two things going on there. So we have Alliance Entertainment and then Alliance Gaming. These are not so Alliance Gaming is part of Diamond. Alliance Entertainment is it's very confusing. Alliance Entertainment, different company, was going to buy Diamond, which has the gaming distributor. Does that make sense? Yeah. Basically, Diamond lied to the buyers and said that, yeah, everything's fine. And if you go out and look, they actually owe, and this is probably why it got terminated. Let's see, which one was it here? They owe Wizards like $1 million. So they're, you know, and I mean, if I were Wizards, yeah, I'd cut them off too. I'd be like, hey, yeah, you owe us like $1 million, right? They said that's 25% of Diamond's revenue.
That's a quarter of the revenue. So of course, if you don't have that deal in play, why would you, you know, you're basing your offer and everything on that deal that no longer exists.
Yeah, and we were kind of comparing it. We heard the news yesterday. We're comparing it to like if you're going to buy a house and you're buying the house because it has a swimming pool and you're like, oh, my kids love to swim. I'm buying this house because it has a swimming pool. And then you didn't realize that the seller was going to take the pool with them. Yeah,
there was a movie, and I want to say it has Richard Pryor. I can't remember who was in it, but in the 80s, and they were going to buy this house, and the guy said, oh, we're taking that with us. And then they were laughing. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And then the rest of the time he kept saying, I'm taking it with us, but he didn't say he was kidding. And they're laughing about it. So when they get the house, all the stuff's gone. Like a bunch of lights and different things are ripped out. And they're like, wait, you said you were kidding. He goes, no, I only said I was kidding about the first thing. I never said I was kidding about everything else.
Was it the money pit?
No, it wasn't the money pit. I forget what it was called, but that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, they said that, and they're correct. Alliance states that this fundamentally undermined the economic projections and operational sustainability of the business. Basically, if we don't have Wizards, we've just got a bunch of shitty indie comic book publishers. We're not gonna make any money on this thing. It said it constituted a material adverse change as defined in the purchase agreement. Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting. Alliance alleges that Diamond concealed this information and that they provided redacted versions of the distributor agreement obscuring the expiration date.
Oh, yeah. See, if that's true,
holy hell, Jeppy pulling the Jeppy. They state that they only got to see the unredacted documents after the purchase agreement was executed and a sale order entered in the Chapter 11 case, which revealed a 31st of March expiration date, later extended to the 30th of April. Alliance states that Diamond misrepresented the situation, noting when questioned as to why WotC only granted a 90-day extension through the Second Amendment, Tyson explained that WotC stated it was only granting a 90-day extension to all of its distributors, so the debtors did not believe the limited extension was a concern. This statement was false. Interesting. They said they only learned, the buyers, Alliance, only learned of WotC's decision not to renew the agreement on the 17th of April, when Diamond's counsel informed Alliance's counsel.
I was going to say, how'd they find out? I thought maybe Wizards told them or something.
Yeah. Alliance states that on both the 6th of March and the 9th of April, Diamond claimed that their vendor relationships, including with Wizards of the Coast, were strong and stable. They still owe a lot of people a lot of money. And that Diamond knew those representations were false when made or were recklessly indifferent to the truth of the matter.
Did their lawyer just go tell, did Diamond's lawyer tell Alliance's lawyer because he didn't want to be in trouble for, like, you know what I mean? Because lawyers, if they do something knowingly, they could get their license revoked.
you can get disbarred.
Yeah.
You can. If you basically you have an obligation as a lawyer to tell I mean, you have to defend your client, but if you know something is fishy and you don't say something about it, it depends on the circumstances, I guess. But yeah, like you can't lie under oath. You can't.
Like I know with our one instance with the one trademark issue, the attorney on the other side knew that we already were using the name and filed it with the person saying they didn't know anybody else was using that name, and that they could have gotten in big trouble for that. So I think it depends on the situation, because you're also supposed to be taking care of your client and not leaking information. So I'm not sure how that works, but
in our case with the lawsuit, basically the case was, it was like dead on arrival because the lawyer knew full well what she was doing was not okay. And
she had to pull herself out of the situation because she was going to get in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, she could get disbarred. She could for that, or she could get, penalized or fined or something. So they said Diamond knew the representations were false and they were recklessly indifferent to the truth. In fact, at the time such representations were made, the defense actively concealed facts in their possession contradicting those representations.
Yeah, they would have known that, because they aren't going to just cut. They would have given them like notice. They would have known.
Defendants intended the plaintiff would rely on such representations as to secure tens of millions of dollars above what the debtor's assets would otherwise be worth. Basically, your company's only worth something because you have an installed base of customers that buy Wizard products.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, exactly like you said. It'd be like buying a house at the pool and then the pool's gone,
Yeah, exactly.
Or buying a business where, the business has a customer that every week buys, a quarter of your business, and then they turned around and say, oh, we aren't going to do it anymore, and they didn't tell you.
I mean, here for our audience, since we cover Disney a lot, it would be like, hey, we're buying the Walt Disney Company. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Marvel's not included.
We didn't tell you.
We didn't tell you that. We redacted that part of the contract.
You're basing your price on something that's really, especially, Magic the Gathering. You're basing your price on that, and they knew full well it wasn't there, but they weren't going to tell you because they knew that you'd give them less.
Yeah, I can't believe. Yeah, they redacted the termination dates from the agreements that were disclosed to the plaintiff to try to pull a fast one. It said feigned outrage, a slap in the face. According to Alliance's account, the reasoning behind the situation only became clear from a video call with WotC. Far from confessing to their deception, the defendants, that'd be Diamond, feigned outrage, calling the termination shocking, coming out of nowhere, and a slap in the face given the debtor's 25-year relationship.
They even called Wizards of the Coast to verify, and they have a video call proving it?
Yes.
Oh my God, you guys
They're
are so dumb.
cooked. Like, what the hell?
And they won't give them back the money for the deposit.
Yeah, well, probably because they're like, we're going to hold on to this because they're.
But here's the kicker, though. By not giving it back, which they might not have it anymore, who knows? Now they're going to accrue legal fees on both sides. They're going to have to pay their legal fees, and if they lose, they're going to be paying the other side's legal fees and everything else. So you're just going to be racking up that money, probably. Plus, if they win, the court will probably award them interest and things. So you're probably racking up more and more and more and more debt. It would have been just easier to give them back the money.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. So this did not come out of the book. They said WotC revealed that their decision to terminate the distribution agreement was made in December of 2024 because the debtor's business with WotC had declined by more than 8% over the last 4 years, during which period each of WotC's other 4 distributors had significantly increased their sales. Importantly, debtors did not refute WotC's characterization on the video conference. Wow. So basically Diamond was dropping off. They had other distributors that were selling more, and they're like, we're just not going to go with you because,
And then people can pick up the money.
Yeah, they owe them a bunch of money, but people can pick up Magic cards at Walmart now. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's not like it used to be where you had to go to the hobby shop, but Magic is keeping a lot of these shops afloat, and that's huge. I mean, if you're basically buying this thing in like a huge portion, you're buying a 3-legged table, right? It's not going to stand up. So it just goes on and on. They said the auction Alliance agreed to pay a total of $85 million for Diamond, but in light of these developments, it required a $18 to $25 million reduction in the purchase price. So what did they have?
They should have been asking for more of a reduction given the amount of, it's a quarter of it.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here thinking, like, what are you buying exactly? This is kind of like, people are like, why didn't anybody buy IDW? I'm like, well, what are you buying? IDW doesn't have a lot of in-house properties. they basically just do licensed comics. I'm like, in this case, what are you buying? If you don't have WotC, and Marvel and DC are using Lunar now, and you're basically just buying a lot of debt. Like, they should pay you to take this company off their hands.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, I think 85 million for it was too much to begin with, but it's just like, I mean, what are they expecting to do? Like, if they found out, that's why they hit it, because they were going to try to take all that money, but without offering all the stuff. I can't wrap my head around it. Like, it was good. They were going to find out, and they were probably going to sue because you did disclose it. I mean, it was clear. They should have just, they wanted more money than it was worth. And this is the most Jeppy thing I've heard for a while.
This is the most Jeppy thing. I can't put
this any other way than this is so Jeppy.
Well, because in our case, I mean, I think it's been long enough. We can say with Gemstone, my understanding of the situation with Gemstone, having talked to other Gemstone people, was they stopped paying Gemstone people. They stopped paying their freelancers because he was using that money to fund his museum, which eventually he closed down anyway.
Yeah, that was anecdotal, but yes.
That was anecdotal, but it just, there is a definite pattern over the years. I've heard things. There's a definite pattern of robbing Peter to pay Paul, robbing one business division to pay for another business division. And most of these things, most of them are not profitable. It's just pushing the money around and keeping things going as long as you can.
You're just juggling until you can't juggle anymore.
And that's what happened basically. And this is interesting because they said he knew that WotC canceled the deal in December, and that's when all the rumors started that they were going to file for bankruptcy, because I think he knew, well, the company's not worth anything without magic cards,
or not nowhere near as much as he wanted. And obviously, if you disclose that, no one was going to pay what they wanted. So this is Rob Selkowitz on ICV2, and it's really interesting. I mean, he says living in exciting times. It is. I mean, the whole, like, all of this stuff is collapsing, and he's talking about, like, comic book people are just blissfully unaware of just how bad it actually is. We're just grifters and we lie.
We're just grifters and we lie. But he's like, you don't realize, like, because they're talking what might happen now with Diamond is that they don't have a Chapter 11, bankruptcy sale that goes to somebody else, but they might just file for Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is we shut the whole effing thing down. We sell everything off to whoever will buy it for whatever they buy it for, and then we try to pay back people if we can, but they might never get the money.
Then you don't. Then oh well.
And remember, guys, like, it's not. There's a trickle down effect here. So Diamond was propping up a lot of comic shops. A lot of comic shops. My understanding was Diamond was letting them get away for like months or years in some cases, not paying for inventory to keep the stuff churning. And they owe millions and millions of dollars to a bunch of publishers. And a lot of these publishers are smaller operations that can't absorb the hit. Like Wizards will be fine. Simon and Schuster is going to be fine.
Yeah. But I mean, you're talking like $30 million, 20 something to $30 million they owe people, because they owe Penguin Random House $9 million.
$9 million. Yeah,
over
Penguin's
$4 million.
Yeah. I mean, they're big companies, but that's still a chunk of change.
Up, and you're talking like $20 to $30 million they owe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be the trickle down. So what's going to happen is we're going to have a bunch of smaller publishers probably go out of business. Between this and the tariff situation, a lot of them are already, jacking the prices, folding, whatever. And then you're going to have the trickle down of comic shops that maybe haven't pivoted to not relying so heavily on Diamond. What's going to happen to them? I don't know. And then you're going to have, a bunch of freelancers out of work because, you're not going to have as many places to work. I mean, this whole thing is just, it basically was, I mean, not to drag, magic into it again, but it was a house of cards. It's been something that's been propped up for decades. It stopped being viable. I mean, really, Jeppy spent, I think, more time shuffling the chairs on the deck of the Titanic than it was viable to actually sail the Titanic.
I'm just looking at this, and some of these people, like you said, were covered. Other places, like, this is a huge hit to their business, and they don't. And then now you're talking about some of these people produce like figures and things, and you have the whole situation going on with the tariffs. It might take some of these people out or significantly knock them down. That's
what I'm saying. And a lot of these smaller,
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, a lot of these smaller publishers, to them, $10,000 is make or break. It's not going to make or break Disney, but it might make or break, I don't know, One First Comics or something. They're $5,000 because that might have been all the money that they're going to pay their talent. And now what's going to happen is the writers and artists are not going to probably get paid because they can't pay them.
We don't know that. You're saying it could
we don't
happen.
know that. I'm just saying I can foresee very, very, very bad things happening. And for anybody trying to put a positive spin on because, well, I like absolute Batman, so things must be fine. I'm like, you're fucking mental.
Wow, they even owe US Customs and Borders money.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, look, I think Marvel and DC will be fine. Marvel and DC, they're owned by corporate, they'll be okay. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about everybody else. And
yeah, right. Yeah.
And that's the problem. And
this
then
is bad.
This is horrible. I mean, this is not to be all doom and gloom, but there's no positive spin you can put on this. Between this and the tariff situation with a lot of these gaming companies, this is literally the worst case scenario for the direct market. This is the worst case scenario.
Could you add this to the tariff situation? Yes.
Yes. When you add the two together, that you had people
already were barely hanging on, guys. It's like they were only on like 2 or 3 fingers. Now they're like a fingernail. This is not good.
Well, that's what Salkowitz is saying, and I actually agree with him. He said the uncertainty surrounding what used to be the pillar of the industry is almost worse than bad news straight up. Yeah, nobody knows what's going on. If Diamond comes out on the other side with a new owner and a new lease on life, that suggests one set of possibilities. I don't think I can't say never, but I'm like, who the hell, especially since they lost the Wizard deal, who the hell is going to buy this company to distribute a bunch of indie comics that might sell a couple thousand copies?
Yeah.
Seriously, because Lunar and Penguin, they're handling the Marvel and DC stuff. Because actually, Diamond was buying I think it was Marvel. I think they were buying their Marvel books off of Penguin, and so like you don't even need Diamond. Like what the hell is Diamond was there just to be the middleman, and that hurt them too. And actually, I would say that the death blow for Diamond was when Jeppy decided to just shut the whole damn thing down, and then people found workarounds, and they're like, yeah, we'll just step right over you, right? Is if it goes under for good, that suggests another leaving it unresolved for an extensive time while everything gets relitigated, just leaves everyone feeling helpless. Yeah, comic shops, what are they going to do?
Well, somebody said, these people that owe money to, what are they going to do?
What are they going to do? They said the rest of the world, the impact of the on again, off again tariff announcements, that's causing a problem. They said sooner or later, people whose businesses are failing or who can't find work start falling behind on credit card, rent, or mortgage payments. That ends up leaving a mark. He's like, remember 2008? Yeah, good times. So look, I think this is going to be for the direct market because Diamond pretty much was the direct market. This is going to be 2008 for them.
Yeah.
There's going to be, I'm saying Walmart will be fine. Amazon will be fine.
Yeah.
Big book publishers who distribute through Walmart and Amazon, Barnes & Noble and all that, they'll be fine. But all these other these niche businesses, the niche tabletop company, all these people that depended on Diamond in the direct market are, for lack of a better term, fucked.
I can't follow that up. I think that's pretty much it.
So we're going to wrap it up.
Yes.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.